Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to Pawtucket's 8th Annual International Women's Day event. My name is Erin Doobie, and I'm the chair of the Women's History Month Planning Committee. I'm so glad that you have all joined us today. So it has been 2 years since we last met in person to mark this day right over at Slater Mill. And in those 2 years, we have learned how important community is. We witnessed strength and commitment, especially in the first responders and those who work to improve the health outcomes for all in our community, those who were closest to this pandemic. The theme of Women's History Month this year looks to honor women working to provide healing and promote hope. First, though, we must thank those who have made this day possible. To start, I must thank the Planning Committee. Last year, through creativity and grit, we put together a virtual event. And I'm glad that we did not allow COVID to disrupt our annual recognition of this day. Now, however, we are grateful that we have been able to pivot back to being in person. These changes are only possible with a strong planning committee. All of the women on the planning committee inspire me as they juggle multiple responsibilities and still commit time to planning this event. I'm so happy to see your faces today so that I can thank you in person. Please stand if you are a member of the Women's History Month Planning Committee. I would also like to thank the dignitaries who have joined us today, recognizing this day alongside us all. I would like to thank Senator Whitehouse and Senator Reid were unable to be here, but they both sent representatives. From Senator Whitehouse's office, Nisa Maria is here, and from Senator Reid's office, Erin Arcott is here. We also have the Superintendent of Schools, Cheryl McWilliams, and the Assistant Superintendent, Lee Rabbit. From the Pawtucket Housing Authority, Paula McDonald McFarland is here. We have State Senator Sandra Cano, State Rep Karen Alzate here. We have City Councilor Alexis Schutte and City Councilor Elena Vasquez here. From the school committee, we have Joanne Panolo. We are especially happy to have with us Secretary of State Nellie Gorbea, who is now going to come up and say a few words.
So it is wonderful to be here in person with all of you, despite my laryngitis, which is horrible this time of the year, but I couldn't resist. I mean, congratulations to the organizers. I know that Senator Cano way back when, I still have, there was a pendant that you gave at one of them. This is needed. This is needed because we need to come together. We need to come together and celebrate and mark the progress made in order to draw energy for the battle ahead. And we have a lot of work to be done in this state, in this country, and in this world. And the key to the success of things changing is getting women involved and women in decision-making positions like what you have here today. That's what makes the difference. I'm excited to be with you here to celebrate. Thank you so much, and I look forward for the rest of the program.
Thank you so much for joining us and for your advocacy on this. In addition, I have to thank Mayor Brebian and his office for all of their support. From the first year that we planned this event, it has been a collaborative effort, and the mayor's team has actively engaged in ensuring that we have a successful event. He is unable to join us today, but he has recorded a video greeting.
I want to thank all of you for being here today, and I truly apologize for not being here in person. Thank you to the International Women's Day Committee for always making today such an important day for our community. I'm reminded daily through my wife Laureen and my daughter Alexa of just how impactful the women of our community are, and to honor International Women's Day and Women's History Month. Pawtucket continues to celebrate women in our city who help to make a difference and inspire future generations to be more. This year, Pawtucket is honoring those women who have made a difference in our community here in Pawtucket, especially those who have responded to the call and assisted this city during the COVID-19 pandemic. This year, International Women's Day theme is providing healing and promoting hope. And each of these women do just that on a daily basis. To each of the 2022 honorees, Ashley Perry, Maria Marin, and our Public Health and Equity Leader, Elizabeth Marrera, congratulations and thank you for your work within our community to improve the health of our residents and to make sure we're all safe during these difficult times. To all the individuals featured here in today's video, Dr. Elizabeth Gomes, Kendra Tangway, Rescue Lieutenant Tiffany Pacheco, and Romana Ramos, thank you to each of you for representing a different area in which women have promoted a healthier community through the medical sector, EMA, fire, and outreach. Today and every day, we focus on the importance of the individual's contribution to our community as we continue to move forward and out of the pandemic. Thank you for everyone who is here today and to celebrate and honor these women and International Women's Day. Thank you.
I thank the mayor and his entire team for their partnership in making sure this is a successful event. I would now like to call up Lori Urso, the Executive Director of the Old Slater Mill Association. She'll provide us with a brief history lesson to ground us in today's event.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Madam Secretary and Mr. Mayor by video. And so great to see all of you, many friends here and many people that contribute to this event. We're very grateful. I'm Lori from the Old Slater Mill Association. I wanted to talk to you just quickly as we today honor our 3 honorees and our 3 students and our 4 EMTs and frontline workers. I wanted to talk about some of the important women in this community that made a mark centuries ago, really, before any of us were able to celebrate these days. Before I do, I also would like to thank the Rhode Island Foundation Community Fund, Community Grant Program for supporting us today, and also Navigant Credit Union for helping to provide gifts for our honorees. So the first person I'd like to talk to you about is a woman named Esther Ballard Jenks. You may have heard her name. Before she arrived on the scene, this area of Pawtucket was traversed and occupied by a number of indigenous peoples, tribes, women, children, men who had come to hunt and fish. In 1671, however, Joseph Jenks Jr. came to the shores of the Blackstone River with his wife Esther Ballard Jenks and their young sons in tow. This was a completely raw landscape to them where they had to build a homestead. He built a forge, she planted a farm, and in all she raised 17 children in this community. And I think we know how deeply the Jenks name has taken root in this community. So just as well as her husband, Joseph Jr., founded this community, so did Esther Ballard Jenks, and she needs to be recognized for that. I'd also like to mention the child bride, basically, of Samuel Slater. Her name was Hannah Wilkinson Slater. They met when he came from England, and she was age 15 at that time. By 16, she was his wife, and they moved into a home that he built right aside the old Slater Mill. In 1793, Hannah Wilkinson Slater took some of the cotton yarn that her husband had spun at the old Slater Mill, put it on her wheel, which she was an expert in operating, and she drew that yarn down to a fine cotton sewing thread. The first time we had cotton sewing thread, until then it was only silk that was imported or linen that we spun. So she was an important figure in the American Industrial Revolution because for over 150 years, one of Pawtucket's biggest exports was cottons, or fine sewing threads, cotton and other types. So I think she needs to really be recognized for that contribution. And shortly before she died young from complications of childbirth. Shortly before, she and her sister Lydia formed a female beneficence society here in Pawtucket. So in her own right, a feminist as well in the early 1800s. So that's Hannah Wilkinson Slater. And lastly, someone you've unlikely heard of, but also played a major role in the American textile industry was Rebecca Cole. Rebecca Cole was a widow. She came across the Atlantic with her 4 children to Pawtucket. She took up residence in the home of Hannah and Samuel Slater, and she was homesick. Samuel Slater wrote to Moses Brown in 1795, "She's very Pawtucket sick. She really regrets coming across." But that didn't last. Before long, she took over the bleaching field for Moses Brown. And the bleaching field was located where today the parking lot sits between this building and Slater Mill. And the bleaching of the fibers was a very important part of the cotton process. So Rebecca Cole, or Mother Cole as they called her, was also an important figure in the American Industrial Revolution that perhaps has completely escaped our memories. She did so well, by the way, that in 1806, she actually bought her own home from Samuel Slater and Timothy Green on the other side of the river. So a true citizen of the community. If you'd like to learn more for Women's History Month about Esther Ballard Jenks, Hannah Wilkinson Slater, Rebecca Cole, and many other women that had a great impact on our community, please visit the Elizabeth J. Johnson Pawtucket History Research Center at Pawtucket Public Library. So named for one of our most well-known contemporary historians in this town, an amazing genealogist, a founder of the Preservation Society of Pawtucket, and also one of the original employees of the old Slater Mill Association, 50 years before I ever showed up. So let's honor Betty Johnson as well as these other amazing women today. Thank you all for coming, and I'll turn it back over to our children.
Thank you, Lori. I always learn so much from you. As many of you know, Pawtucket has earned statewide recognition for our celebration of this day, and I believe that it is due to our unique inclusion and recognition of both student leaders and strong women in our Pawtucket community. Today, we will continue that tradition, and I will be turning over this event to 3 strong leaders from our Pawtucket schools. They will then lead us in a panel discussion. I would like to call up these student leaders now. Kate McLean is a current senior theater major at Jacqueline M. Walsh School of Performing Arts. At JMW, she is an active member of the Honors Club and a frequent tutor for probability and statistics. She's at the top of the senior class, and outside of school, she works a part-time job as a floor worker and pharmacy technician at Walgreens. Next year, Kate plans to attend Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute to study cognitive science and artificial intelligence. Please join me in welcoming Kate. Arissa Campbell is an active and enthusiastic member of our school community, partaking in many programs the school has to offer. She was a devoted member of the girls' tennis team for 4 seasons, a model in the annual Shea Fashion Show, and was elected her class president by her peers. Graduating as a member of the Shea High School chapter of the National Honor Society, as well as the Rhode Island Honor Society, she is at the top of her class. She's an active member of the Key Club, engaging with the Pawtucket community regularly. A model student, she is kind, compassionate, and most importantly, hardworking. Undecided about her future plans and weighing her many opportunities and acceptances, she will undoubtedly find success at the college level. Thank you for being with us today, Arissa. Victoria Quinn is a senior at Tolman High School. She balances multiple different responsibilities while also working to stay at the top of her class. She manages an accelerated and advanced placement course load at school while also working at Dunkin' Donuts and interning for a criminal defense authority. In addition, Victoria sees the value of giving back and has spent the past summers volunteering babysitting services to a family of 3 children. She is looking to pursue a career in law after graduation. Welcome to Victoria. So I will now sit down and turn over the event to these 3 very capable young women as they introduce our panelists and lead them in a discussion. Kate, would you like to get us started?
Of course, thank you. I would like to start by introducing and calling up the first of our 3 panelists. Ashley Perry serves as the Pawtucket Program Manager at Project Weber Renew. Project Weber Renew provides peer-led harm reduction and recovery support services, believing that all people deserve a loving space free from judgment and that everybody has the power to change. They build relationships with the systemic change. Ashley is a survivor of human trafficking and a former sex worker. She is a strong advocate for women who have been trafficked, engaged in sex work, and have substance use disorders. At Project Weber Renew, she is able to use her own voice to break down barriers and stigmas that she and the people she serves face. Ashley, thank you for joining us today.
I would like to now introduce Elizabeth Moreira. Elizabeth Moreira is the first public health and equity leader of the city of Pawtucket. She's a first-generation Cape Verdean American. She's a first-generation American-born Cape Verdean and very proud of her heritage. She received a Bachelor of Science from the University of Rhode Island and a Master's in Healthcare Administration from PHS University. Elizabeth fills her passion for providing health care to those who otherwise do not have access. Elizabeth advocates for cultural competency within the healthcare systems and recently spearheaded multiple public health initiatives through the Pawtucket Beat COVID initiative. Elizabeth, thank you for being here today. I have the honor of introducing our third panelist. Maria Isabel Marin is the Health Equity Director of Pawtucket Family YMCA, where she creates results that last for a lifetime. Maria has been a crucial member of the community and an advocate for the people of Central Falls and Pawtucket. She is an active liaison going door to door with her team and connecting community members to the resources that are available to them by the city and the state. Maria's efforts created a new permanent health equity department with the Pawtucket Family YMCA with its purpose to outreach. Maria is a Bonner Scholar graduate from Guilford College in North Carolina with a political science degree and 2 minors in religious studies and integrated science. Maria, thank you for joining us. I would like to thank each of you for joining us today, and I would get us started with the first question for Maria. How would you describe the feeling you get from giving back to your community, and what is it about working with families that you find particularly important?
I think for me, it's just like, I have joy. And that's like the best word I can describe is the joy that I get from serving my community. It also reminds me of how I was raised, which was always to give back to the community. And people are like, why do you do it? I'm like, because I cannot not do it. Like, it's part of who I am and what I believe in. So, wholeheartedly.
Thank you. Ashley, how did your experience impact your success at Project Weber Renew?
So our model is a peer-based model where we use our own experiences to really advocate for the people that we serve. And my hope is that me being the person that I've become today shows hope to the community that I serve every day.
My next question is one that can apply to both Elizabeth and Maria. It is so very important that all humans have a fair and just opportunity to be healthy. Do you find that there are specific obstacles that women face, and are there ways that even without pursuing a career in health equity that we can help institute change? Elizabeth, do you want to answer first?
Sure, that is something that I'm definitely passionate about, in ensuring that all people have access to quality health care no matter what background you come from. And particularly in women, and there are certain barriers, educational and housing and many external factors that may affect the quality of life or make us more at risk of acquiring an alternative or adverse effects. But I think what we can do, especially coming out of the pandemic and getting back into the swing of things, especially as women, is to access preventative health care. Get back into the doctor's office, get the screenings that you're recommended to by your age group, and ensure that you're always championing your health and putting yourself first. That's the only way that you can continue to do the work that you do to continue to uplift our community.
I would just add to that. So a lot of people are like, oh, do you have to study it? And I think everyone has a part in this because a lot of us have a voice around this table, thankfully, and a lot has to do with breaking down stigmas, which we can partake in every day. Whether you're also part of a business owner, there's ways you can implement policies that have fuller representation, or if you are working with other women or other folks, it's just about having conversations and being able to be more open about our health, because unfortunately, sometimes as women, we're told that like we have to have this front of perfection, that we have to know it all or do it all, but in reality it's okay to create safe and vulnerable spaces that we can all partake in addressing so many of the social determinants that we face day to day.
For this next question, I would like to hear from all of you. Could you expand upon some of the greatest achievements you've accomplished? Ashley, would you like to start?
Yeah, so one of my greatest achievements that I have accomplished is really just actually claiming that I'm a survivor of so many different things, including like recovery from opioid use disorder, and to be able to be available for my family and for my community today. That is my biggest achievement. I could say that, you know, I've done so many other incredible things, but for me, that is what it is.
Elizabeth?
I would say personally, making myself available to community members that otherwise do not have access to health care. People who have language as a barrier, people who have certain disorders as a barrier that doesn't help them achieve optimal outcomes. And I feel that making sure you're understanding the community you serve and accepting difference and accepting people to be who they are. Personally, I feel that has been impactful in my work day-to-day. Professionally, in the city of Pawtucket, ensuring that our community stays safe through the pandemic and understanding evidence-based data that makes our community a high-density community and higher risks to getting COVID-19 or having adverse outcomes of getting the virus. And ensuring that people have information in different languages and meeting people really, truly where they are is one of my greatest accomplishments in the first year here at the City of Pawtucket.
Greatest compliment is being a first-generation student from my household, and another would be just echoing a bit of what Elizabeth says, just being a bridge. Like, I know that sounds so redundant, but some people are like, what would you be if you could be anything? And I was like, a bridge, because I think a lot of times that's how we're able to really engage the community, is by being there and allowing them to know that we are there for them, not just to fulfill numbers or anything like that, but we are there for them as a person, and we're here to bridge them to access what they need to be more independent, to feel empowered in what they can do. So I would say those are the two things.
I have a question for Ashley. What suggestions would you have after going through what you did to make it easier in our society for victims to move forward?
So we need to break down stigma. That needs to be on the top of our priority for everything. Most women who are, you know, being human trafficked, they're stigmatized against because people don't see why they're human trafficked. People don't see how the criminalization of sex work really makes them victims to become human trafficking. We need to take away stigma. We need to decriminalize sex work. And we need to keep doing that work in the community to keep saying that these things are not okay.
Thank you.
All right, my next question is a general one for the panel. As women who are pursuing careers in a path that is traditionally male-dominated, do you have any advice for navigating the gender gap and power structures in the workplace? Does anybody want to go first?
I would just say be unapologetically yourself, because I think regardless of the workforce you will receive a lot of resistance, but you have to just know who you are and where you stand and be proud of that, even though at the table you might be the only woman, or at the table you might be like the other person. So don't be afraid to be yourself and to be loud and to demand what is your right.
I would echo that and to say show up, to continue to go to the meetings, continue to make it a norm that you're there, and make it a norm that you exist and you have goals and you have policies that you would like to be put in place that are catered towards women, and making sure that we always have a seat at the table will always be my advice. You have to show up, and you have to show up proud and with dignity on what you believe in and what you stand for.
Yeah, I would just echo what both of them said. I feel like here in Pawtucket, I've seen most of the women in these rooms are women that I'm on meetings with almost all the time. And I would say that here in Pawtucket, we have a huge presence of women, and we just need to keep continuing with that and declaring it that we are leaders.
So this next question is for Maria. How would you say your cultural background influenced your choice of work?
I think, honestly, it was the ability to actually understand where the community was coming from. So my family, we did immigrate into this country, and so understanding what it was like as a child to translate all of these documents and going to the doctor's appointments and seeing the challenges my parents faced in trying to find employment because of the language barriers. So a lot of the times I was able to have a better understanding of where a lot of our community members were coming from and the challenges they faced, and was able to speak onto that they should be proud of the fact that they're helping their parents and their grandparents in navigating this completely, it's like a different world here. And so I think it also allowed me to just wanting to be more present in a way that I can make impact the same way, even though it was small within my own household or other households here.
Thank you. For Elizabeth, what can we as a community do to encourage people, particularly the women of Pawtucket, to seek out health care without distress?
First, it's a twofold. We need to make sure that we're, as women, as people in general, are open with our providers, have the conversation, have the true conversation with where you're at with your health care, but also on the provider level, to make that safe space for individuals, especially culturally competent safe spaces, understanding that different people of different backgrounds may act in a way that is culturally appropriate for them, and having an understanding of that as a provider. To work together to make realistic treatment options available for people, and to make sure that with the treatment options that are recommended for our community is something that they will stick with, and something that makes sense for their culture, their background. Providing individualized care is really important, specifically in a community where the immigrant population is very dense, and English is not the first language of many people, specifically in the city of Pawtucket. So understanding that that's a thing, and addressing it, and ensuring that we're always being equitable in every approach and step that we take.
My next question is for Ashley. Earlier you mentioned that one of the highest priorities we have is to dispel the stigma surrounding sex work. So how do you propose that us as women actually follow through with doing that?
I would say to be in solidarity with other women who choose to do sex work. So there is a clear distinction between human trafficking and sex work. We need to decriminalize against sex work so that we can make those distinctions more clearer. And we need more women who maybe don't engage in sex work, or who will never engage in sex work, to really stand in solidarity with us to declare that what a woman wants to do with their body should be their choice.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, what would you say your inspiration was for your line of work?
My inspiration comes through many generations, like my grandmother. She immigrated from Cape Verde. She was a widow at 30 years old and brought 10 children here by herself. And not knowing the language, not knowing what snow looked like, they pushed through, they navigated. My mom's 14 years old, not knowing the language, but today holds a leadership role at one of the top hospitals in Boston. And our mission work that we do through our nonprofit, the people in Cape Verde that we serve every year, through intervention, through education, through technology transfer, those are all the people that inspire me to go forward.
Thank you so much. Maria, what obstacles did you face during your journey to leadership that the young women of Pawtucket may identify with today?
I think age is a huge thing. It's very hard to navigate spaces where mostly people are of much older age. And so I think for me it was just establishing a sense of respect between those who were older than me, not knowing that I was there to serve, and I wanted to serve the community and focusing on that baseline. As well as like what Elizabeth said, just showing up. I think those two things, showing respect and showing up, people are able to kind of start seeing that you're actually there because you care about the community. And so they can actually give you a place at the table. And if it doesn't happen, sometimes we have to create our own tables, which is also okay too.
Thank you.
All right, so now I'd like to start around the panel with the final question, which is one for all three of you. Of the countless people you've met in your life, is there any one woman that jumps to your mind that has had a significant impact on who you are and where you are today?
So I'll answer first. The woman who's currently had the most impact on my life is always my grandmother and my mom, but one woman in particular is my boss, Colleen Daly and Joy. She runs a whole organization of peers like me. And when you look at me on paper, I'm somebody who has no employment history. I'm somebody who has bad credit. I have a criminal history. I have so many things wrong with me, and she gave me a shot. And today, I do what she did for me for so many other people, and I am so forever grateful for her. And so I love her so much for everything that she's done and what she's created in this community that started here in Pawtucket.
For me, I can't pinpoint one person. Said I was going to try to say that never happens. There are many people, including many people sitting here today, my colleagues, the people I work with. Like Ashley said, the people who give you that chance every time, who give you the voice, who empower you to continue and to stand for what you live by and what you see every day. So being able to have that opportunity, specifically in the city of Pawtucket, my mayor is a male, but I talk to him and I tell him these are the things that are needed, and feeling that sense of confidence to be able to have that conversation specifically with a male who probably doesn't understand my background whatsoever. I think that there are many people, and I can't just pinpoint one, and not even by gender.
A little combination of both. My grandmother and my mother have a huge influence of the person who I am today. And then the same as Elizabeth said, is the people around this table, the people in this room has made such a huge impact. Like, I remember when I met Elizabeth and I was in awe of everything that she did, because I met her back when she was like focusing on her nonprofit and the work and that dedication, which was like, wow, like other people care too. Other women are also a part of this fight. So it's basically everyone here that keeps on fighting and dedicating to serve this community.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists. Thank you so much for joining us today and answering our questions. I will turn the event back over to Women's History Month Chair, Erin Duty.
I feel inspired, I feel like I learned so much, and I thank the students for guiding the conversation, and I thank our panelists for being so open and honest and sharing with us. As I've said, I think that is the unique way that this event blends our student leaders with our leaders in our city that really brings this day together for me every year. The theme of Women's History Month is promoting hope and healing. As we heard from the panelists, there are multiple different ways to promote hope and healing in our community. Over the course of this pandemic, we have seen front and center the work that our first responders do and have always done to benefit our entire community. We now have a short video that JMW students created to honor women first responders in our city. Please join me in watching it.
My name is Kendra Tangway. I am the Preparedness Officer for the Pawtucket Central Falls Emergency Management Agency.
My name is Tiffany Pacheco. I'm a rescue lieutenant with the fire department, and I'll have 9 years on the job this May.
I'm Dr. Elizabeth Gomes Texera. I'm a physician.
My name is Romana Ramos. I am a service outreach coordinator for COVID-19.
Being on the rescue especially, I think we were impacted a little bit more. There was a lot of sick patients. How we dealt with those patients was a lot different as far as like cleaning the trucks and what we kind of wore to like keep ourselves safe, keep them safe. We couldn't see day to day like how things are going to turn out. So yeah, not knowing what was going to happen the next day was always really scary, especially in the very beginning.
We have done everything that we can to make sure that people have information.
We were taking it one day at a time. What was good is that my colleagues were very supportive.
So I'm the only girl on the fire department. There's a few police officers that I interact with, not daily, but here and there. Being a woman in emergency management is super empowering.
Well, I believe the modern women, we do accept each other and we do work as a team, not in competition with each other, but to better each other to the highest than we can.
There's definitely a need for more women, especially in the fire service. I think it's an intimidating job to join, but anyone can do this job, and the more females that do it, the more respect we're going to get.
Unfortunately, there's a stereotype that where there's a lot of women, that there's a lot of gossip and it can get catty, and I don't agree with that. And I think my personal experience has been that it's been quite the opposite and very supportive and enjoyable.
I feel like women have a lot that they can offer in this field.
Because nothing that's worth it is, in the long run, is easy.
I do think that there's definitely a room, like a need for women to get involved in this stuff and not be intimidated or be afraid to try. Such a good feeling to go home at the end of the day to be like, we made a difference in these people's lives. Like, we helped in this pandemic to get everybody safe and healthy and vaccinated.
Well, it's the COVID, the infection is coming down, but we have to still educating people and providing service and information to the community.
We're still encouraging people to take precaution and do everything they need to do to stay healthy and keep the community healthy.
I do praise Mayor of City of Pawtucket for providing and create a great team to reach through the community.
We also felt like we were doing a good job in helping our community and making a difference, which helped, which gave us momentum to keep going.
The community got better educated and have better tools to defend themselves or to fight with COVID-19.
Hopefully people can learn how to keep themselves safe after COVID and carry on with those precautions, but maybe not be so timid about everything.
JMW for putting together that wonderful video to mark the achievements. I know the sound wasn't that great to be able to hear the whole video, but we do have it already up on YouTube, and it's going to be included on the website, which you will see on the program. Yes, it's on the program, where you'll also get a video of the entire program today. So I hope you enjoyed that. But I would like to, would the women honored in this video please stand? I know some of them have been able to join us today to be recognized. So it is now the point of the program that I will turn over this podium to one of my heroes, and the woman who first started marking International Women's Day in Pawtucket, State Senator Sandra Brown.
Buenos días.
celebrating International Women's Day in the city of Pawtucket because of all of you. 8 years ago, I remember a city councilwoman trying to introduce the first resolution in the city of Pawtucket for International Women's Day. And I was very happy that I found like my good friends and sisters that joined me on the start of this event. Starting by school community woman Kim Grant, that is not able to be here today. We joined forces, we got the people from the community, and we started celebrating what is so needed and is celebrated around the world. So today is International Women's Day, March 8th, and as you all know, it's a global celebration of social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. The day also calls for action for accelerating women's equality. International Women's Day has occurred well for over a century, with the first International Women Gathering in 1911, supported by over 1 million people. Today, International Women's Day belongs to all collective groups everywhere, not only here, but around the world. So, you already heard about our theme for this celebration. But my goal today is also to tell you that today has a specific theme. And the theme of International Women's Day today is break the bias. Imagine a gender equal world, a world free of bias, stereotypes and discrimination, a world that's diverse, equitable, and inclusive, a world where difference is valued and celebrated. Together, we can forge women's equality. Collectively, we can all break the bias. So I'm going to ask you all to stand up, please. And you see a lot of purple in the room today. And that is because that's the color of International Women's Day. So I'm going to ask you to do an exercise with me and then just put your hands like this. And today, during the day, you're going to see a lot of pictures of people doing this. And this is representing break the bias. So let's collectively get out of this room with that message and image. Let's break the bias. It is unconsciously that sometimes we do have biases, but it is consciously that we can recognize that we no longer want to have those biases. So let's break the bias, everybody. Happy International Women's Day. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that you all get a good overview of the theme as we celebrate in March as the whole month of Women's History Month. But today marks the day that we kick off the event here in Pawtucket. And we're going to have different events during the course of the month. And I want to specifically announce today that in the school administration building, there's going to be a demonstration of art that is been put in by the Pawtucket Arts Committee Commission. And I want to say thank you to Lee Rabbit, Ricardo Pimentel, and Miriam Plitt for putting that gallery together. So throughout the month, you can drive by the school building and see this wonderful art demonstration from our students. But we're here to celebrate, right? So I don't want to take more of the time. What we're going to do is we want to make sure we recognize the amazing leaders that we have in this community. And it inspires me to see the young women that moderate this panel with a lot of great qualities and leadership. And I just want to say a huge shout out to you students, because you are the future. You're the ones that are going to lead us in the future, and you're the ones that are making the difference today. So let's give them a round of applause. And I just saw my good friend and mayor of the city of Central Falls, Mayor Rivera. Thank you so much for joining us today. You are too making a difference. The first woman mayor of the city of Central Falls, so breaking barriers. Okay, so I'd like to call with me at this time Gail Allers, which is our friend from the Empowerment Factory that every year create our wonderful awards for us. And I want to ask Gail to tell us what inspires you to do these awards before we give it out to our awardees today.
Well, I just want to start with how much I love this community, Pawtucket and Central Falls, because it's a group of people that we really are a community. We are people who help each other and who care about each other. And as an artist, it brings me great joy to make these pieces of artwork, these awards, for people who are making such a difference, and people who will make a difference in our future. And on the awards, flowers have recycled flowers made from cans, the rebirth of something to reuse, repurpose, transform. And then in the center is a genuine cultured pearl, which to me represents beautiful things that manifest when you overcome difficult situations. And I know that all of you will go forth and continue with the work that you do, and it brings me great joy to be able to participate in this day.
That's the reason why I needed her to explain the meaningfulness of her art. Because I do think that, as she said, this community is only continue to be stronger when we support each other. And this is the time that I also say and give a shout out to Stacy from Day My Day. If you were able to enjoy already the beautiful display and food that is outside, that is because we support our own. And Stacy from Day My Day, thank you so much. And our beautiful flower arrangements are also protected on. So that is the Rosebud in Flores. And I just want to make sure that you continue supporting our small local businesses, because that's what we do here. We support each other. It's all about Pawtucket. It's all about our state. And I know Laurie also already mentioned this, but the funding for this event this year was really available thanks to the Rhode Island Foundation Community Grant and not even credit union. Lastly, I think that we wouldn't have been able to do this together without the Pawtucket Women's History Month Committee. And I want to just make sure I take the time to recognize them, because they really are the ones that every year take the call, do the work, and make sure that this event is as successful as it is. So thank you to all my friends, my chairwoman, Erin and Laurie, and Miriam, Gail, Joanne Banolo, Luz Filpo, Cassandra Flores, Lee Robin, Lisa Bennett Ramsey, and Elena Vasquez, and Gail Allers. So thank you so much for all of that. Perfect. So I'd like to ask the honorees to join us here as we present the awards to you. So Ashley Perry, Elizabeth Mora, Maria Isabel Marín, this is Maria Isabel. And then and just hold here for 1 second. And I'm calling Kate McLean, Victoria Queen, Arisa Campbell. We also like to call, if they're here, Elizabeth Gomes, Ken Mateo, Tiffany Pacheco, and Ramona Ramos.
That's Dr. Gomes.
representatives, the Senate, the City of Pawtucket, Senator Reed, Senator Whitehouse, and also a token of appreciation, thanks to Navigant Credit Union, so we all received a bag today with the citations and the gift card.
I think you're out of hands, but I'll put them in. Victoria? Oh, perfect. Thank you.
So I love for all the honorees to gather right here in the back so we can all take a picture.
Yeah, I think I'll hold the bags
We'll
for
get
now.
the bags
Yeah.
for you in a second. If you can just come to the back, right, thank you, in the center.
All look this way. Thank you.
I don't. Hold on. Thank you.
Okay, everybody, let's just continue celebrating International Women's Day. There is plenty of food. I please to recognize Councilman Gregor that is here today, and former Councilor Vitale was around here as well. And Councilwoman Elena Vasquez is also here today. Thank you, everyone. Let's continue breaking the barriers, celebrating International Women's Day. It's plenty of food, so let's continue celebration. Thank you. Have a blessed